many reasons why we shouldn't like the way things were going. And I was driving here this morning, and the federal government or the Liberal government has spent billions and billions of dollars building infrastructure in this country. And Norway House Cree Nation from 2018 have spent millions and millions of dollars. But the construction that the Liberal government did or has done or going to do will not get them reelected, which is kind of odd when you want a government that will build for the communities, for the future. And if that were the case, then Norway House Cree Nation and my leadership then would come into question, that if all the work that's been done, everything that we've worked on to make happen, to improve the lives of our people, then building something is not going to get you elected, no matter how much you build, based on what I've learned with the federal government. And so that the difference, I believe, is that we've, under the leadership, my leadership, the councillors, from the first term to this term, have worked many, many days and hours and have been away from their families, have been away from the community to drive these projects and to become real, to come to Norway House and begin to benefit, and especially with our own financial position, our ability to be able to convince and work with governments and business to make things work out and push for those really important and necessary projects. So it's actually a little bit odd how I worked from March 2018 till today, every day, on how we can make Norway House better, how we can make Norway House more prosperous and to have a better future. But that takes a lot of time and commitment and away from family. And that's for my brother's passing last week. It's made me think about my life and my family, my children, my grandchildren, and being away from them. So there's an election coming. There's an opportunity to step aside and let new leaders come on. But obviously, there's too much work to do, and I don't have, or I should say I still have a lot to offer. I still have a lot to accomplish. I still have a lot to complete. So I will not step aside at this time, and I spoke to my wife and my family about that. There's been a couple of opportunities to go somewhere else, to lead another type of organization. But Norway House is the only place I care about. It's the only place that I've ever known. And I think with the right attitude, the right people, we can make Norway House into a place where our youth won't have to suffer as much as we have, in particular in unemployment. So I've kind of gone full circle here, mainly because the bridge ties everything together. And if you go to communities where, throughout probably the world, but throughout North America, where they put a bridge to get to where they're going, to get access to things that they needed, they would tell you how much it's impacted their lives. And it might only be a piece of cement and metal crossed over a waterway, but that is a link to the rest of the country, and that's why I think it's very important. And that's why I believe that this bridge will not only give us peace of mind, but it'll also give us a better future as we continue to build our nations in the east side of Manitoba. So with that, I thank you, and I'll pass it over to these gentleladies to inform us of what they have found so far. And if you have any questions, by all means, either you ask questions, text a question, or inbox the question, so we can answer as to our best of our abilities. So thank you, and have a good meeting, and take care.
Thank you very much, Chief Anderson. Excellent words from the leadership. And as the Chief and the Council have reiterated, this project is absolutely essential and crucial for our community of Norway House, for the next generation to benefit. And they also talked about the Health Center of Excellence. Those projects are coming, and it takes a lot of dedication and a lot of work to get those accomplished, to continue our overall goal of wraparound care for our community. And the leadership is working extremely hard in doing that. And I can say that with all honesty. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of teamwork, and it takes a community to get behind these projects for the betterment of tomorrow. So just remember that as we're moving forward, think of our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, how they will benefit from projects such as the bridge, the Health Center of Excellence, and other projects moving forward. So I'd like to once again thank Chief Anderson and the Council for their excellent words. And we'll jump right into the meeting. And everybody out there who's watching at home, if you want to come down, feel free to come down. If you want to text in any kind of questions, please do so. We're here all day. And I'm going to throw it over to the province of Manitoba right now for their presentation. And I'd like to thank our guests who came in last night. They're very appreciative of being here. They said we have a beautiful community, and I absolutely agree to that. So I'd like to call up Kevin Leclerc to start us off with their presentation. Negasani, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Chief and Council, for getting the meeting started, and Gilbert, of course, for hosting. As a gesture from the entire project team, and to get things started off right, we just want to offer some tobacco to Chief Larson Anderson. So I just want to start by thanking Norway House Cree Nation leadership for their continued support throughout this project. We formed a strong partnership with them, and we look forward to working closely with them as this project moves forward. I also want to thank everyone from the community for embracing us to your home once again and being part of today's session. So last time we came up here, we introduced the project and some potential roadway alignments for the new bridge. We spoke not only... Pardon? Louder? Oh, there we go. Okay. So last time we came up, we introduced the project and some potential alignments for the new bridge. And we spoke not only about the engineering that is required to carry out the design, but we highlighted the importance of engagement with the community during the design. This is a significant project for Norway House and the entire province of Manitoba. So we want to make sure that it's something that will not only make us proud, but something that the entire community can be proud about as well. Which brings us back to the importance of today's engagement session and ensuring that the community members are able to provide their inputs on the project. Since our last meeting, when we came up in September, the engineering team has been carrying out the necessary fieldwork and early engineering for the design to begin evaluating those alignments. But before selecting a preferred alignments, we need to gather local knowledge and carry out the engagement portion of it. So that's what we plan to do here today. We understand the urgency of getting this bridge completed, but we also want to make sure we do it right, and that involves getting the community input throughout the project. So to go through introductions again, my name is Kevin Leclerc. I am the project manager for the province of Manitoba. I've been with the province for 15 years, and I've been involved in just about everything bridges. So this project is something that I'm really excited to be a part of. Here with me today is the consultants carrying out the engineering design and the engagement leads for the project. So the prime consultant is Tetra Tech Canada, and the engagement would be Landmark Planning. So from Tetra Tech, we have, maybe I'll ask you guys to stand as I name your names. So we got Mike Boissonneau from Tetra Tech. And we got Craig Kwiatkowski, also from Tetra Tech, a part of the engineering team. And from Landmark Planning and Design, today's lead will be Carolina Herrera and Lauren Sheedy. So I encourage you guys to listen, ask any questions that you may have, and provide input that you have about the project area. We intend to take this feedback and incorporate into the evaluation of the preferred alignment. So we appreciate your input, and happy to truly appreciate to have you guys here today. Thank you.
Good. Hi, good morning. My name is Carolina Herrera. I'm with Landmark Planning and Design. We're the engagement consultants for this project. I just want to thank again Chief and Council and the community for welcoming us today. We're going to be presenting on the functional design of Provincial Road 373 and preliminary design of the new bridge structure over the Nelson River East Channel. This is our second community meeting. As Kevin mentioned before, we were here in September last year. Some of you may have had the opportunity to be here for that meeting. Some of you may have not. So I'm going to provide a little bit of background just to get us all on the same page first. And at the end, we're going to have time for questions. We have a small group here today, so we'll be able to have more detailed conversations after the presentation. There will be members of our team in each table, and we'll be able to work with some maps and get your input. Here we go. Okay, so this image we see here to the right, this is the study area. Just for reference, at the bottom of the image, we have Sea Falls. We can see Highway 373 going north-south. This is the location of the current ferry connection. And yeah, this white box is enclosing our general study area. So for the past months, the team has been working with the options we presented last time we were here in September. We have 4 bridge alignment options. And the team has been working on analyzing the study area, gathering information, and conducting a preliminary evaluation of the options. At this point, we can see one of the options might work better than the other ones for a number of reasons. One of them being timing, which we know it is very important for this community. This project is a priority. So we are working as fast and efficient as possible, but without missing anything. So that's why we're here today. That's the intent of this meeting, to have input from you before we're able to confirm the preferred option. I will not go again into the project team. We already talked about that. I just want to highlight that the project team is pleased to be working closely throughout the project with Norway House Cree Nation. Chief and Council have been very supportive throughout this process. So for the project intent, the goal of this study is to design a bridge over the Nelson River East Channel and a roadway alignment to replace the existing ferry service. And all of this with the purpose to create reliable access for travelers in and out of the community all year round. Norway House Cree Nation has identified the need for a bridge for a number of years. Manitoba has initiated the first steps towards building this bridge. And the first step involves a series of design phases. The design and construction of the bridge will take about 5 years approximately, including the design. Regarding funding, once the preliminary design is complete, a cost estimate will be established for the preferred bridge alternative and roadway alignment. And the federal government and provincial government also would need to share the cost of the construction project. And the project is being managed by Manitoba. A general project timeline, just to give you an idea of the design phases. The first one was the conceptual design phase, which has been completed. We're currently working in the preliminary design phase and followed by the detailed design phase being conducted throughout 2025 and 2026. And then we're estimating the construction phase could be starting in 2027. That's the plan at this point. As you can imagine, there is a number of factors that the project team needs to consider during the design process. Some of them include safety, traffic operations, local land use and access patterns, impact to surrounding lands and residences, existing infrastructure, utilities, environmental impacts, cultural or heritage considerations, emergency access and services, capital and maintenance costs, and other factors that may be identified throughout the engagement process, which is why we're here today. So if there is anything else you think we should be thinking of, we will have time to chat about it right after the presentation. Now, this slide and the following 2 slides are just some context map for reference. These will be very helpful during our conversations after the presentation because they will help us locate anything that you would like to point out for us. So this is just in the regional scale. We can see at the top of the image, this is the study area. Sioux Falls is located here. We have the Norway House community here at the south, and Highway 373 all along north south. Then just a local scale, we can see here more closely the study area with the ferry location, again, Sioux Falls as a reference. And zooming into the study area, we can see the bridge location would be within this range. The current ferry location, here is the crossing. And these labels are for reference. These will be very helpful when talking about the alternatives. To the left, we can see the Western Island. Then in the center, the Lady. And to the right, we can see Power Island is how we're calling it. We know there are utilities crossing in this site. So getting into the highway alignment options. There are a number of alignment options that have been considered for the new bridge. We introduced them last time we were here. Each option has advantages and disadvantages that the study team has been evaluating. And one option does look like it will... Oh, sorry. Is that good now? Yes. Okay. One option does look like it will work best than the other ones for different reasons. And we're here looking for more input before confirming the preferred option, as mentioned before. But these options are, just like to recap, option 1 on Power Island, option 2 near ferry route, option 3 beside the Lady, and option 4 on Western Island. In this map, we can see the different options. I apologize, we rotated this map just to be able to fit the alignment so you could see them better. But here the north is to the right, the south is to the left, so Norway House community is to the left on this map. As you can see, each option has a different shape, different length of road, of bridge. The blue one is number 1 on Power Island at the bottom of the image, followed by the red one, number 2 near ferry route, followed by the light blue, number 3 beside the Lady, and then number 4 in pink on Western Island. Here we're labeling the approximate length for each road. It will be new road being constructed for each of these options. We're not considering the length of the bridge in these numbers. So for this preliminary stage of design, we can see the longest one would be on Power Island, the blue one, with 4.1 kilometers. And then the shortest one would be the light blue, number 3, beside the lady, with 1.9. Again, this is just thinking of the road length, not the bridge length. So now getting more into the bridge, these are some sections that the project team has been working with just based on preliminary findings. They are not definite. For each option, I'm going to show you how the bridge could look like in terms of length, number of spans and piers. Just as a note, they all range between 430 to 520 meters. So regardless of which option is chosen, this is considered a long bridge compared to an average project. So for the first one, option 1 on Power Island, this bridge could be approximately 520 meters long. This would be the longest one. Option 2, near ferry route, this one would be approximately 490 meters long. Option 3, beside the lady, this bridge could be approximately 445 meters long. And option 4, on Western Island, this bridge could be 430 meters long approximately. So options 3 and 4 are very close to each other, but with option 4 being the shortest bridge. Now, getting into the evaluation that I have been mentioning throughout the presentation. When talking about evaluation, there are many considerations that we have to think of. All of the considerations are equally important, but we usually group them just to make them easy to understand and organize in our evaluation table. In this case, we're grouping social and environmental in the first box, engineering in the second box. We have other considerations like related to land, for example, or cost. You will see them in the table in the following slides. But just to give you an idea of the kind of things we're thinking of and that we'll like to chat with you about later, we're talking about potential cultural sites, peatlands, wetlands, fish habitat and terrestrial species disturbance risk, medicines, trap lines, contaminated sites risk, winter road crossing, trails, whole road traffic, cabins, any kind of activities with water use, recreational ice fishing, sea falls, environmental approvals, and opportunities for local trade, among other ones that we will be chatting about. For engineering, we have safety improvement, ground elevation, geotechnical, pier location, flow impact, navigation requirements, length of bridge and road, area of disturbance, uses of existing infrastructure, complex design, construction access and staging, including the ferry operation, time for construction, material availability, local access, including the boat launch, navigation, existing fiber optic cables, among other ones. I am going to skip this slide. We usually explain the evaluation process with this slide, but it's easier if I just explain it with the matrix. So this is the evaluation table I have been talking about. The way this is organized is we have the different alignment options here as columns on the right. They even have the same color you saw on the map, so when we chat about them later, we'll be able to work with the map and the table together for easier reference. We have the different groups of considerations we talked about before, engineering, land, social, cost. Also, we always reflect here community support. And then we have this scale of colors just to be able to compare them, how each option performs for each of these considerations. So we go row by row, analyzing how this option relates to the second one, to the third one, to the fourth one. And then if an option performs better than the other ones, we put the green color, which is better, yellow if they're comparable, or red if it's not as good, which doesn't mean that it's not a no, but it just means that we'll have to mitigate it. So it's things to keep in mind. So as you can already see with this preliminary evaluation, we can see option 3 so far is the one that has the most green, the least red, which means more advantages, less disadvantages. However, the project team has been working on all these rows, but we wanted to show you that we still want to get more input from you, local knowledge for the social ones. So these are the ones we're going to be focusing on later in our conversation. Let's skip to the next one. We talked about project process before, but regarding engagement process and next steps. The first step was to prepare bridge location options. We shared those last year in the fall. And now we're here to get more feedback on these options to refine our evaluation, which is step number 2. Then step number 3 will be to confirm the preferred option. Step number 4, share the preferred option with the community and other stakeholders. And then finally, step number 5, recommend the preferred option to MTI. And all of this will be happening by the end of this spring, 2025. So I'm about to conclude this part of the presentation. We just have a few key questions that we would like you to think of and that we can chat about it in small groups later. But does this evaluation process make sense to you? That's the first one. If there is anything you don't understand or just, let us know. Is there any local knowledge you would like to add that will help in the selection of a preferred option? Anything you think we're missing? In general, is there anything else you would like to add for consideration, even if it's not something that has been mentioned or, anything that you think we should know? So, with this, I conclude the part of the meeting for the presentation, that it was just to give you more background and project updates. We're gonna take a small break, maybe 10 minutes, just to process all this information, and then we'll go to your tables. Different members of the project team will go to you to chat about any questions and input you could have. Thank you. Oh, I forgot to mention, we also brought some donuts to share with you. They will be available next to the coffee. And thanks.
Thank you very much, my dear. Yeah, come on up.
Yeah, guys, I just wanted to address one more part here it was a comment from the chief that I got that really kind of stuck with me when we kind of went over the presentation. He said back in September we showed 4 alignments, and then we're here again showing kind of the same 4 alignments. So we just kind of wanted to clarify on what we've done since then, and then where we're kind of going. So since then, the engineering team has been able to fill out the evaluation matrix with all the engineering, basically checking off all the engineering side of the evaluation. So they've done all the bathymetric surveys, the field assessments, and that kind of thing to be able to make that decision. But we just need input from the community before we can complete that evaluation. So essentially, and if they start building a bridge, we don't want anyone from the community saying, oh, why did they build it there? It's impacting some kind of a cultural site or something like that. So part of this is to get that knowledge from you guys and to get community support on the alignment that is selected and to be involved in that process. So just clarify that, and I appreciate everyone today again.
Yes, sir. So we're taking 10 minutes, eh?
Pardon? Yeah,
Taking 10 minutes. All right, thank you for those presentations. We'll take a couple of minutes, about 10 minutes, and let everybody kind of get ready for the next part of the presentation. And the coffee is brewing, and the donuts are on the way, so we'll wait for that. But okay, we'll be back shortly. Thank you. there's also good words, and that's why when I did it, I said, how hard you're going to work,
Just don't introduce me as Councilor Apatega. Because
well, you know,
I know I just,
now you want to be national.
yeah, because Orville says all kinds of crazy shit on it. Is it people are listening on radio, eh? Yeah, 45 cents. So, he sent over, he's sent to the president when he takes the people what he said. So what's going on with that? Anyway, I think everything is taken off the table. Look at the child and services. They didn't even 47 billion. It's tricky.
I got the guys on the table there. Are we doing, we're doing, excuse me. I think we're doing breakout now. Excuse me. Hello? Hello? Okay, everybody, now we're going to be breaking out into the information session. We have the team from the province that are going to the tables and talking to the people that are at the meetings. So that's your time to sit down, ask some questions. The maps are there and everything else. So we're going to be doing this exercise for a little while and get some feedback. Thank you. Okay, everybody, we got 5 minutes and we're going to break for lunch. So we're going to wrap up the sessions in about 5 minutes.
Good to see everybody. Afternoon. Everybody. Good to hear everybody. Nah, I'm playing around. All right, let's get everybody's attention. We're going to break for lunch here. The food's here, has arrived, has been here for a little bit already. The sandwiches and soup and stuff there. So it's want to just bless the food. Thank you, Lord. I just thank you, Lord, for this food, for the staff that prepared it, Lord. I just ask, Lord, to bless them, oh God, to bless their hands, bless the work that they do and the way they help everyone. I ask, Lord, to be with them, give them strength, give them health, Lord. And just bless every person that's in this place. Bless them with health also and strength. Let this food be a nourishment to our body. In Jesus' name, amen. Get some food.
Hi there. Just checking if you can hear me. Who's someone talking to you? Check one, check two. Can you hear me on the stream? I mean, on the Teams meeting here. Hey there. Can you give me a thumbs up there if you can hear me?
Yeah, can hear you.
Perfect. I can hear you too.
Perfect. Hey, Frank, welcome.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great.
Hey, Austin, I'm not sure if I missed anything from you. However, we're just looking, I just got talked to Gilbert on the phone, so I think we have a plan that, I'm not sure there if you can hear me, but maybe it'd be good if you could start us off with the licensing presentation. I still haven't received an agenda, so I'm not sure what the plan that Jim had.
I can't hear you, Gavin.
Oh, you can't hear me at all? How about this?
I don't
Is
know
this
if
better?
it's me or.
I can hear you fine, Gavin.
Oh, okay.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. We are going to get going with the afternoon session. We do have the province of Manitoba online, Mr. Gavin Bergeron, and he's going to set the table for the agenda for their presentation for this afternoon, and then we will go from there with questions right after that.
Okay, thank you. I'm not sure if everyone can hear me or see me. But I want to first thank Norway House Cree Nation and the members present today. The opportunity to present the summary of concerns with you and go over what the licensing process is today. To begin, I do want to apologize. We were hoping to come to your community today. Unfortunately, last minute our flights were canceled. An unfortunate consequence of trying to get to your beautiful community. But we've been there a couple of times now since 2022, and so we're thankful to have this opportunity to present this to you. How do I sound so far? Do I need to speak up, or can everyone in the audience hear me today? Okay, perfect. I can't see the crowd, so if there's anyone who's raising their hand or coming up to the mic, I won't be able to see that. So please just interrupt me when you'd like.
I still can't hear anything. I don't know what's wrong with.
Oh, is everyone else able to hear me?
Everybody in our end of Norway House
Am I
can
being
hear
heard?
you clearly.
Okay. I see Gilbert there. Oh, okay. I can hear you here. Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm going to share my screen real quick. No apologies. Okay. Let me just blow this up a little bit. Okay, I'm going to share my screen now. It's going to take a second here. Apologies. Okay, I hope everyone can see this. Before I kind of dive into everything right away, I do want to provide a bit of an overview of what we've done to date. So as I had mentioned, we've been to your community a number of times now in Norway House Cree Nation, but also having meetings in Winnipeg to try to gain some demographics within the community, such as the urban membership. Just like myself, I'm an urban member of my community, so definitely demographics and reaching those targets are really important to hearing from various members in the community, whether it be land users, fishers, trappers, elders, youth, all are important. And so we want to thank, in addition, the hard work that Gilbert, Loretta, and the team have done to put this all together. We appreciate their work they've done to make this happen, so I want to shout out to them. As a reminder of what this process is, we'll be going over the Monego Notice of Alteration. Originally, Flying Nickel Mining Corp had this project, but as you know, or you may be aware, that Norway House Cree Nation is now the owner and of this project, and the Consultation, as the proponent, would be them. We've been to your community a number of times hearing concerns, and what the process of today, what we would like to do is show you what we've heard, and to ensure that what we've heard is accurate, correct. If there's any suggestions or inputs as a final step to hearing what matters to Norway House Cree Nation members, that's what's important to us today. So you should be seeing a screen in front of you here, and I'll go kind of what it tends to do, kind of going over a little bit, and then I'll get into the nitty-gritty in a second. So what we'll see is each concern that Norway House Cree Nation members have presented in the community concern column there. Each concern has been responded to by the proponent. So like I had mentioned, Flying Nickel was the original proponent, and now Norway House Cree Nation has taken on that responsibility. With each proponent response, or another word for company, we'll have a response from Manitoba. So Manitoba, throughout the consultation process, has to address appropriately each and every concern that is raised. And then finally, in the last column you see to your right, you'll see a proposed mitigation. These are mitigations that we have come up with on Manitoba side with some input from Loretta and Gilbert. However, it's important, even more important, so that we hear from you, the members of Norway House Cree Nation, on what proposed mitigations you would like to see. And when we go into those, I can provide some more context to them. Again, I can't see anything, so if there are any questions or comments, just please give me a shout or yell at me. So throughout this list, you'll see different categories, so such as the first one, fish and fish habitat. I'll kind of be able to break that down as we go through. So we'll do that. I also am aware of translation. So please, after each concern, I will provide some time for the translation or the interpretation to take place. If Gilbert or Loretta or whoever's up front can just let me know when that's complete, that'd be greatly appreciated. The first concern we heard was on February 7th of 2023. Oh, sorry, the first concern here was which happened on February 7th, 2023. This was an in-person meeting. Norway House Cree Nation brought the concern over project design and potential for watershed contamination. The proponent response was processed water will be reclaimed in the polishing pond, also known as PP, and recycled for the use of the process plant. The polishing pond will operate in water surplus, requiring daily release of effluent into receiving environment. Norway House Cree Nation, formerly Flying Nickel, is proposing to install a 3-component semi-passive water treatment system to address the additional treatment requirements for the polishing pond, PP. Manitoba analyzed that response, and we came up with, well, the mine is required to meet effluent discharge, which is wastewater runoff from the process minerals. They must meet the effluent criteria and environmental effects monitoring defined by the federal metal and diamond mining effluent regulations, also known as MDMER. The effluent sampling and monitoring requirements will be included in the Environmental Act license. So we worked with our technical experts, and a part of our proposed mitigation measure for this concern was having sampling and monitoring for the effluent discharge. I'll take a second for that translation interpretation to take place.
Hi there, you can just continue.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So one of the next concerns we heard, we both heard it on November 17th and February 7th in the community of 2022 and then 2023 subsequently. We heard concerns over water quality and fish habitat. The community raised concerns over the quality of water once the proponent discharges treated water into the Monago River. The proponent proposed or responded with discharges from the polishing pond, PP, to the Monago River will meet the MDMER effluent criteria limits and Manitoba's water quality standards, objectives, and guidelines. Our response, Manitoba's response, was the mine is required to meet the effluent discharge, which is the waste runoff from processed minerals, criteria, environmental effects monitoring defined in the federal metal and diamond mining effluent regulations, MDMER. Again, part of our proposed mitigation was effluent sampling and monitoring, which will be included in the Environmental Act license. For questions on the process and how that comes up, there will be a presentation after this by Larry Markwart, which will go over this process. I'll go ahead and I'll stop for the translation.
Hi there. Yeah, we don't have any translators, so you can just continue with your presentation there. Oh, wait. Yeah. Hi. Yeah, we don't have a translator, so you can continue.
Say again, sorry, you cut out at the beginning. You don't have a translator today?
Yeah, we don't have a translator in here, so you can just continue.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, sorry. Apologies. I thought there was supposed to be one. Okay, I'll just continue. All right. The next is wild. So the next category. So we talked about fish and fish habitat as well as water quality. Those were some very serious concerns we heard from Norway House Cree Nation. The next valley component or category is wildlife and wildlife habitat. So we heard concerns related to wildlife and wildlife habitat. The first concern in this section, we heard both on November 17th, 2022 and January 6th, 2023. This was heard in an in-person meeting on November 17th and a virtual meeting on January 6th. Norway House provided some concerns surrounding the monitoring plan and lack of faith regarding Manitoba's enforcement compliance and conditions. This was based on an unfortunate response time that we heard from Norway House Cree Nation members. This is not a question that the proponent has responsibility to, but rather Manitoba. And our response was an emergency response plan is required under the existing license. So therefore, the person who holds this license has to have an emergency response plan. This requirement would remain should this new proposal be approved. The plan must address chemical spills and potential industrial accidents and must be updated as required. The next concern we heard related to wildlife and wildlife habitat was concerns regarding rehabilitation and remediation of the project site post mine operations. Meaning, once the mine has, if approved, let's say the mine's approved, we go ahead with the mining. The mining stops after X amount of years, and we need to reclaim that area to make it as natural as possible. The response the response the proponent provided was they stated they're obligated to comply with the provincial regulations regarding mine closure plan. Our response, Manitoba's response, was a mine closure plan must be submitted to the Director of Mines branch 60 days prior to commencing any mineral activities according to the Mines and Minerals Act. The mine closure plan must be reviewed and approved prior to commencing any mineral activity. The mine closure plan outlines how proponents aims to rehabilitate the project areas back to or closest to its original state. The mine closure plan is reviewed every 5 years. The proponent is encouraged to work with the potentially affected Indigenous group or groups to develop a mine closure plan that includes Indigenous knowledge and understanding of the impacted area. Our proposed mitigation, which of course we'd like to hear from Norway House Cree Nation members, is we would propose having an Indigenous Environmental Advisory Committee. And now Manitoba has implemented Indigenous Environmental Committee in other mines and at other consultations, and we've seen success from it. And that's something we would propose as a suggestion for a mitigation measure. The next concern we heard from Norway House Cree Nation members was on February 7th, 2023, while we were in the community in an in-person meeting. The concern was with caribou migration patterns and whether the project would impact caribou. The proponent's response was valued ecosystems and cultural components, VECCS or S's, were determined for the present assessment and include the woodland caribou, the moose, which is only ungulate to have been observed in the Monago project area, the black bear, the beaver, the American marten, the lynx, and the songbird community. They propose that firearms will not be permitted. Hunting and fishing will be prohibited at all times on or in the vicinity of the project site. This restriction will apply to all mine employees, supervisors, managers, and contractors. It will be in effect throughout the life of the project, from construction through to closure and reclamation. Infringement of this policy will be reported. We also propose that maximum speed limits on all access roads will be set at 60 kilometers per hour, as well as any observed wildlife corridors will be assigned to alert drivers to potential wildlife crossings. In addition, any mortality on the access road will be recorded and reported, and any modifications to the mitigation measures will be considered in consultation with Manitoba Conservation as required. Based on the effectiveness of these mitigation measures, effects of the access road on wildlife mortality during the construction, operations, and decommissioning are expected to be low of magnitude and not significant. That's what the proponent had to say. Manitoba's response is, the proposed project overlaps boreal woodland caribou habitat, specifically the Woboden Management Unit, as defined by Manitoba's Boreal Woodland Caribou Recovery Strategy of 2015. The Woboden Management Unit is assessed as high conservation status due to its high level of existing disturbance caused by human activity and planned industrial development. The proponent has proposed mitigation measures that aim to minimize potential impacts to caribou that could arise from mining activities. In addition to the proposed mitigation measures, it is recommended that the proponent enter into a collaborative caribou monitoring program with the Indigenous communities, Manitoba Business, Mining, Trade, and Job Creation, and Manitoba Natural Resources and Indigenous Futures Department for the purpose of monitoring caribou, assessing and mitigating impacts to the caribou in the project area. So part of Manitoba's suggested mitigation measure would be a Part of the mitigation measure that we would propose to Norway House Cree Nation and their members is a caribou monitoring program. The next concern we heard in this category was on February 7th, as well as in the same in-person meeting. We heard concerns over bear population and the potential impact that the mine could cause bears in the area. The proponent had the same response. I'll just go over it again real quick. Valued ecosystems and cultural components were determined to be present assessment that include the woodland caribou, which has been observed in the Minigo project area, the black bear, which is part of this concern, the beaver, the American marten, the lynx, and the songbird community. Firearms will not be permitted. Hunting, fishing will be prohibited at all times in or on the vicinity of the project site. This restriction will apply to all employees, which include supervisors, managers, and contractors. It will be in effect throughout the lifetime of the project, from construction through closure and reclamation. Infringement of this policy will be reported. In addition, maximum speeds on the access roads will be set to 60 kilometers per hour, and any observed wildlife corridors will be assigned to alert drivers on potential wildlife crossings. Any mortalities on the access road will be recorded and reported, and any modifications to the mitigation measures will be considered in consultation with Manitoba, or engagement with Manitoba Conservation as required. Based on the effectiveness of the mitigation measures, effects of the access road on wildlife mortality will be during construction, operations, and decommissioning are expected to be low of magnitude and not significant. Going back to Manitoba's response on concerns with bear population, the proponent has proposed mitigation measures that aim to minimize potential impacts to black bears that could arise from mining activities. It is recommended that the proponent also record all black bear observations in relation to the project site and mining activities and provide annual reports to Indigenous communities. In addition to the Manitoba Business, Mining, Trade, and Job Creation Department and the Manitoba Natural Resources and Indigenous Futures Department. All right, 1 second. Okay. The next concern we heard, and this is something that we're kind of stumped on it, and I think we need to hear a bit more from the experts and Norway House Cree Nation members, and was hard for us to find some research or data on, but we did hear on February 7th within the community that a community member brought up the spirituality and the lore of Indigenous culture and potential concerns to the impact of Sasquatch or Bigfoot. This is something that, like I had mentioned before, Manitoba would need to hear more from the members and those who are knowledgeable on this topic to assist us in providing a response and ensuring that we can protect the culture and the lore of something such as Bigfoot or Sasquatch. So we don't have a response now, but of course, like I had mentioned before, there will be an opportunity for Norway House Cree Nation members to take this back and review it. We'll have a 30-day response period after this for any other suggestions, and we're hoping out of this we could hear more about this concern so we can adequately and appropriately address it to ensure that this consultation remains meaningful. Lastly, in this category, on November 17th, 2022, as in an in-person meeting in the community, we heard concerns with the lack of participation from the Trappers and Fishers Association, and specifically to Manitoba. in our consultation efforts. And so this is so today Manitoba is committed, of course, to a meaningful consultation, Crown Indigenous consultation process. Since we've heard this concern, the CRA has heard that there is a need to listen and hear from various demographics of the community. The CRA will be attending a community meeting in the near future that aims to hear from those Trappers and Fishers Association. So that's what we speak today. So we are hoping to hear from, as we will be here until 7 p.m., to hear from the Fishers and Trappers Association to ensure we've met that demographic and to ensure that this consultation is meaningful for those who participate in it. So we are hoping to hear from them today. The next category, so we're moving on from wildlife and wildlife habitat to labor and economy and social. So November 17th, 2023, in an in-person meeting, the community raised concerns regarding unemployment levels and the needs for jobs for Norway House Cree Nation members. The proponent, Flying Nickel at the time, had proposed the following for employment opportunities. The proponent has stated that these jobs would prioritize among the 4 First Nations: camp and camp services, busing of workforce to and from the communities, concrete hauling, unless a rail line comes to site, road upgrading, site preparation, which includes grading, development, and site drainage systems, components of project construction, camp maintenance services, plumbing, electrical, carpentry, things like that, fuel supply, environmental monitoring, continuing baseline water quality so work can go ahead this year, if approved, of course. Current community businesses inventories really help in building the list of potential opportunities for the nations. Budgets for early work remain to be approved alongside schedules for work. So that's what Norway House Cree Nation has proposed. Manitoba encourages the proponent to hire from locals from the surrounding areas in the work involved in developing a functional mine. Lastly, the last concern we heard from Norway House Cree Nation has to do with the Crown Indigenous consultation process. Specifically on March 27, 2023, during an in-person meeting, we heard concern that Manitoba is consulting with the Manitoba Métis Federation, or MMF. The community felt that the MMF has no ties in the area proposed and has not followed the strength of claim process. This is not a question appropriate for the proponent, as proponents do not consult or do not consult with communities. That is the responsibility of the Crown, in this case, the provincial government, the government of Manitoba. We have the duty to consult in a meaningful way with each community potentially affected. And so our response, under Section 35(1) of the Canadian Constitution of 1982, the Crown must consult with the Aboriginal peoples of Canada. Section 35(2) identifies the Aboriginal people of Canada as First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. The legal definition, Indian, but of course we know First Nation or Indigenous is preferred. This project was assessed and determined that the duty to consult was triggered with the Manitoba Métis Federation, or the MMF. This is not something that we have a choice over. This is our legal obligation to uphold rights and to affirm them as set out in the Constitution. And so we must do our duty to consult with those who are triggered. In this specific project, the project is within the Métis recognized harvesting zone, and we are in a consultation with the Manitoba Métis Federation. I know that was a lot to take in, and like I mentioned before, there will be an opportunity that this package will be sent to Norway House Cree Nation for a 30-day response period to take in what we have proposed, what the proponent has proposed, and any potential mitigation measures that we have suggested. And so with that, I'll leave it up to the floor if there's any questions or comments on what I have presented today. Thank you. Oh, yeah, I can hear you. Just stop sharing for 1 second. I think I can share my my window rather than my screen. Perfect. Okay. You should be able to see it again. I just wanted to make sure I shared the proper thing. Go ahead, sorry.
Check, check. Good afternoon. My name is Dorothy Ducharme, an elder from Norway House Creation. My first question is this mine really Norway House Creation? Because at one point there was other First Nations saying that it was their territory. So is this Norway House Creation's mine?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. The mine and the project itself is within the resource management area of Norway House Creation. It's not necessary for me to say whether it's your mine, but it is within the resource management area of your community. That we are consulting with other communities that are potentially affected by this mine. But it's not necessary for me to say the ownership of mine. The Norway House Creation has bought and is operating this mine as the proponent. And so in this process, I'm here to hear from the members themselves. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, kind of. But the other question is, when is this mine going to start? No.
I can respond to it first. The reason why the nation purchased the project was so that they would have control over if it developed, when it developed, and how it developed. There has been no decision on if there is going to be a mine, or whether it's going to be a quarry, or whether it's going to sit where it is now. So what I understand is that the nation was not happy with the company because the company was worried about money and return on investment. The leadership said there's more important things like the environment, jobs, etc. So we are going to buy the project and be in control so that the community and the leadership would then have long-term say over how the project proceeded. So there is no mine. There's a potential for something, but that's up to the leadership and the community to decide in the future. Okay? Does that answer?
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
No problem.
And Jim, I definitely want to add to that in saying that before any decision can happen on whether to approve or not approve a mine, including this one, Crown Indigenous consultation, so what we're doing right now, hearing from the community in this phase, must be complete before a decision is made. So our recommendation from the consultation goes to that decision maker. So this process has to be complete before a decision is made on any mine. And so this is why this process is so important. And hearing from yourself as an elder, as a member of the community is very valuable and is obviously needed and a critical step to this process.
Good afternoon. I'm Loretta Bear, a member of the Cree Nation. My question is the timeline like Dorothy mentioned? I know you said you have to have a completed response to these issues raised within 30 days, correct?
Yeah, so this is an opportunity for me to present the summary of concerns, but you will receive this, what you're seeing in front of you, once we're done this meeting today, and then Norway House Cree Nation will have 30 days to implement or suggest any changes to what we have presented today, which we've heard over the last couple of years.
Okay. Do you have an overall timeline that you're able to also share with the community of the consultations that are taking place, including those of other interest groups?
So yeah, we are almost complete phase 2. So the community meeting portion. So there are 4 phases of consultation. Right now with Norway House, we're in phase 3 out of 4, which is this analyzation of concerns and addressing them. I can't go into detail about other communities. I can't. That's a nation-to-nation relationship. So I can't go into that. But I can tell you who we are consulting with. So we are consulting with Pimichikamak Okamawan. We're consulting with Mississippi. We are consulting with Mosakahikan, and we are consulting, obviously, with Norway House Cree Nation, in addition to the Manitoba Métis Federation. So that's who we're consulting with. Norway House Cree Nation is the furthest in the process, but the other communities aren't far behind. So I can't provide too long of a wrap up. We are looking to wrap up hearing the concerns by March 31st of this year, so in the next 3 months. And then that will enable us to review everything and provide a recommendation for the decision maker to make that decision. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. The next question I have is once the consultation process is completed in this section, and once a decision by the owner, the proponent, is made on how the territory will be mined, will there be additional consultation because different mines impact communities differently?
Yeah, before I go into that question, I just want to emphasize that the proponent isn't making the decision about the mine. It's going to be the government that provides the license, which then goes into conditions. So they can only do this under this parameter, X, Y, Z type idea. So part of those conditions are what we're hearing today, such as, caribou monitoring programs. That's something that we're hoping to put in the license. The effluent, so water quality monitoring, that will be in the license. And so it's not up to the proponent to decide what they want to do. It'll be the parameter set out by the license that is provided if approved. So that's the first part. Can you remind, sorry, your second part of your question?
The second part of my question was related to the type of mining. What will be mined? Because different mines impact the community different. And it impacts the wildlife and waterways and the air quality and all aspects in different ways. So that's what I'm asking. Will there be additional consultation specific to the type of activity that will occur?
So, thank you for your question, and apologies for getting that the second part there for a second. So to answer your question, the consultation for this specific changes to the project, so these 5 changes, this is what we're consulting on now. If the proponent, and this is what the decision will be based on. However, if the proponents of Norway House Cree Nation decides that they want to change any aspect of this project that they've proposed, that would then need to be re-reviewed for potential triggering of additional consultations. So as it stands right now, this would be the kind of finale to kind of end and wrap up these meetings for a decision to be made. However, if there are any changes that Norway House proposes, that then yes would need to be reviewed with potential consultations.
And I think my presentation might help answer that part of it as well.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Larry.
So the final question I have related to it, because I couldn't really see what is written on that presentation because it's not really clear to me from, maybe it's my eyesight, maybe it's the type of font or whatever. But do you also have any suggestions in there related to moose management and other animals that are trapped in our territory?
So we have heard concerns from moose from other communities. This wasn't a concern we had directly heard from Norway House Cree Nation, so I don't have that prepared with me. However, of course, that's an opportunity for Norway House to include in once we send this package that then we can respond to. So unfortunately, I don't have anything in front of me right now, but we have taken note of that, and we will add that into our summary of concerns.
So the summary of concerns will be distributed in what way? Will it be by mail? Will it be available here? Or what is the plan?
Yeah, so the plan is we will send it through hard copy, but as well as digital to the representatives in Norway House Cree Nation that we were working with. So Gilbert, Loretta, Jim, Doug Ramsey. And so we'll send it to them, and it'll be their responsibility to send it out to the members who are wanting it or would like to see it. So I'll leave it up to them if they want to respond to that. But we will be sending it out physically and digitally so that there can be multiple copies made.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your questions. I appreciate them.
So if there's no more no more questions for Gavin, I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can see if I can get this to match my height, so I'm not bending over the whole time. I do have to look at my speaking notes too, so I'll have to keep.
Would you like me to share your presentation, Larry, or do you have it on that end?
It'll be over Teams as well. Yeah. So you'll see.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we tested this earlier. Nope, that's not it. Where did I, oh, present in Teams, there we go. It'll just take a second to come up. I might actually just take this out, might be easier. I usually sit down for these, so. Okay, so my name's Larry Markwart. I'm with the Environmental Approvals Branch with the Department of Environment and Climate Change for the province of Manitoba. My branch is the branch that's responsible for assessing and potentially issuing or making decisions on Environment Act licenses for a variety of developments. My section within the branch, the Relationships and Priorities section, is primarily responsible for doing engagement and consultation on Environment Act licensing decisions. So really for my presentation, I'm going to provide an overview of the environmental assessment and licensing process. So really talking about the Environment Act, what happens when we get a proposal, how we assess it, how consultation feeds into that, and some of the tools that we have to make sure that the environment is protected through the environmental licensing process. I'll give a brief history of this specific project in terms of past licensing decisions, and then just a current status of the licensing process. And if you have any questions throughout, feel free to raise your hand. I'm good to stop. I'd like to keep this a little bit more informal, or at least open for discussion. So the environmental assessment and licensing process, and I'm sorry if this gets to be a little bit too dry, environment assessment and licensing in Manitoba is governed under the Environment Act. So the Environment Act is Manitoba's primary legislation that covers environmental protection. And the Act really does a number of things and gives us some tools to protect the environment. And some of the ways it does this is providing tools to respond to emergencies and spills. So, for example, if during construction, or actually even if a road is just coming down, or a tanker truck is coming down a road and it spills or something like that, the Environment Act actually has some legal requirements for whoever makes the mess to report it to an environment officer immediately. We actually have a phone number that's published that there's an environment officer on the other end of the line 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Sleeps with it beside his bed. Really, the Environment Act also provides tools to address those spills. So really what would happen, and say in that case, details of the incident would be reported, and then the environment officer will sort of make sure that the immediate emergency is taken care of. So if there's, say, something spilling towards the lake, they'll make sure, okay, it's leaking towards the lake, let's get some berms around there. The environment officer has the ability to order the proponent to do it. If they can't do it, they'll do it themselves. They can hire someone else to do it and charge them back after the initial emergency is taken care of, then they can be required to, or they can require cleanup and assessment and monitoring and stuff like that. So that's one of the tools. The second tool the Act provides, it allows the government to make regulations and issue permits and licenses to protect the environment, which is what we're talking more about here, really the licensing part of it. It also provides tools to enforce regulations, permits, and licenses, etc. So it designates environment officers that can take an Environment Act license and make sure a proponent is following and doing what they need to do under that license. It gives us investigation powers. We can charge people, do inspections, etc. So the specific aspect today that I'm going to talk about is Environment Act licensing. So under the Acts and its regulation, a development that might have the ability or potential to significantly impact the environment has to have an Environment Act license in Manitoba. No person can construct, alter, or operate this kind of development without first getting a license. So in this case, what we're talking about today is there's an existing license for a mine, and they're proposing to alter it, to change that, which is putting us through this process. The Act also really lays out kind of the process for Environment Act licensing and assessment. So the Act tells my department what they need to do, and the minister what has to happen when we receive a proposal for an Environment Act license. The process exists to ensure environment and human health protection, encourage early consultation. It allows for full public participation, and I'll get into this all a little bit in more detail. And it ensures the development occurs in an environmentally responsible manner. So as I said, in this case, there's actually an existing Environment Act license, but there's been changes proposed to that license. And the proposed change or alteration is significant enough that really the process we're following would be similar as if it was to what it would be if it was a new license. So assessment and licensing, really it consists of sort of 3 phases, followed by compliance and monitoring. And I don't know if you can kind of see if I can get my mouse shown up on that screen. No, I guess not. So there's, compliance and monitoring. So proposal, review, licensing. If a license is issued, we get to construction and operation. And you can kind of see through the assessment process in parallel with those 3 phases is Crown Indigenous consultation. So first, a proposal is submitted by someone wanting to build and operate or make changes to an existing licensed development that could potentially impact or alter the environment. The proposal is then assessed through a number of steps, including technical review and through Crown Indigenous consultation. If it is determined that concerns can be addressed and the development could happen in an environmentally responsible manner, then a license can be issued. If a license is issued, it would generally will always contain these terms and conditions, and I'll show you some examples of that in a bit. And what those terms and conditions are is like restrictions and requirements to make sure the environment is protected. So in the case of a major alteration, in this case, new terms and conditions can be added to an existing license. Now, this license is actually, those terms and conditions are legal requirements. So an Environment Act license is like a project or development specific regulation. So not following it can result in charges. Just get to the... Okay, so a little bit more about the proposal stage. So first, the proponent prepares a submission that describes what they plan to do, what the potential environmental impact of that activity is, and generally they'll do that by hiring third-party technical experts like engineers. And then what measures they plan to take to prevent or reduce those impacts. The department encourages the proponent to engage and consult with First Nations, affected public, and government staff before they finalize and submit their proposal. This helps them to address potential concerns as early as possible. And once a proposal is received, it's checked for completeness before it moves on to the next phase. So if it's missing information, and you'll hear about this further down for this project, if it's missing information that's needed to properly assess the impacts, the department will request more information, a revised proposal, or in some cases, a new proposal. So if you were to take a look in our public registry, you'll see a lot of licenses Environment Act proposals that don't have a license that have been there for a long time. And usually that's because they're sort of caught in this stage of back and forth until we have a complete proposal. No, that doesn't change it that way. I'm not used to this doing this on Teams, or with this Teams tool. Once a completed proposal has been received, that's when we start the review process. So the department begins its thorough review, and as part of that review, it's sent to a technical advisory committee for specialized technical review to assess things like potential water quality issues, wildlife impacts, impacts on culture or heritage resources. Really, our staff and environmental approvals branch they're very qualified, smart people who are environmental engineers and scientists, but they also have a generalized knowledge. So when it comes to assessing things like water quality, we'll send it to somebody on a technical reviews committee whose real specialty is water quality to take a look at it. It's posted on the department's website, and the general public is provided time to review and comment on it. And that's usually about 30 days, and that's our public registry. And it'll actually stay up there. So it's very transparent. You can actually go and see similar licenses for other mines. You can actually go on and see the license for that we're talking about today. The other part that begins is the first phase of Crown Indigenous consultation, as outlined in Manitoba's interim policy. So in this phase, the proposal is assessed for potential impacts in the exercise of treaty or Aboriginal rights to determine if the licensing decision will require consultation. And one of the things is, so the technical experts will really look at it from a science point of view. An environmental impact is very often an impact on rights, but something can be an impact on rights. It's not necessarily considered like a Western science impact. So we look at it through a different lens. So if, such in this case, the Crown has a duty to consult, the consultation process informs the review and licensing decision, and I'll talk a bit about that. So information received from our technical advisory committee process, the public review process, and Crown Indigenous consultation, it might require the department to actually go back to the proponent and either ask for more information, ask the proponent to adjust their proposal, or sometimes even submit a new proposal before it can, again, go further in the process. So there can be significant back and forth at this stage as well, as the review phase progresses and concerns are addressed, mitigated, and accommodated. So this would really go on until we have a complete picture of what the impacts are and the potential options for reducing impacts. And this is all before making a licensing decision. So that takes us then to the licensing decision stage. So the licensing decision is not made until, well, really, like I said, the technical review and Crown Indigenous consultation is complete. In this case, the technical contact in our branch prepares a summary document. And what that does is it outlines and identifies kind of what was raised during public consultation period and also in the technical review. And it assesses or really tells the decision maker how those questions and concerns were addressed, usually through licensing clauses or revisions to the license, etc. At the same time, in parallel to that sort of technical review process, the consultation team prepares a report that documents all of the consultation activities, what was heard from communities. Gavin went over a little bit of that today. And how what was heard informed the process. So how could concerns be addressed and mitigated and accommodated? So in order for things to align, the branch's technical recommendation, if the branch's technical recommendation is to issue the license and the Crown has fulfilled its duty to consult, a draft license with terms and conditions, as well as the full consultation report will go with recommendations will go in front of the decision maker, which in this case is my director. So really, legally, we have to show that when be able to show that or demonstrate that when the director is making their licensing decision, they have to have all of that technical information as well as the consultation report in front of them to inform that decision. So if we were to assume that everything aligned and a license is finally issued, the final license and the summary are posted on the public registry for everybody to see. The Crown also notifies communities that were consulted about the decision. But also our environmental compliance and enforcement branch follows up to ensure that the licensee complies with the terms and conditions of the license. And I'll talk a bit more about those, but such as discharge limits, monitoring programs, reporting, etc. If you recall, licensing requirements are legal requirements. And then you'll also recall I mentioned the Environment Act has provisions to designate environment officers and provides them with inspection and investigation and enforcement tools needed to ensure compliance with the license. So usually that involves them reaching out to the licensee, so the owner of the project, reviewing the license, making sure that they understand all of the requirements, and then following up through the years with inspections and visits and everything like that. Okay, how do I scroll over here? Let's see. Oh, there we go. Okay, so that was the kind of the boring part, just how the Environment Act works and environmental regulation works in Manitoba. I'm now going to move a bit to the history of the Monego project. So this project actually has a fairly long history. The project was originally proposed by a company called Victory Nickel in 2010. This is our public registry that I was talking about. And you can see that the licensing process for the 2010 proposal was complete, and a license was issued in 2011. If we were to click on one of those links. The assessment and licensing process that I described was followed with technical and public review, and there was a Crown Indigenous consultation process. The only thing I'll note, if you decide to go in and take a look at this public registry, 2010 is before it became electronic in 2013, so most documents are up there. The proposal, the licensing, and licensing summary are posted on there from 2010, but the other documents aren't. So a license was issued, in August 23rd, 2011 to Victory Nickel, which means that there is an existing license for the construction, operation, and decommissioning of the mining development known as the Monego project. The license is for the entire project, so really all of these components. So 10,000 tons per day of open pit nickel ore mining, milling, and concentrating development, the access road, tailings waste rock management facility, groundwater drawdown wells, sewage treatment facilities. So maybe to answer kind of your question about, if that changes. So this is the way it is licensed now. So if it was decided to use some other method for mining, it would have to go through this assessment process again. And really that would be considered a major alteration. So all that technical review, the Crown consultation, that would all have to occur again right from the start. So really a license, it's licensed as proposed. There's 49 license conditions, plus additional schedules for wastewater treatment, monitoring, and soil testing. And I'll talk a little bit about that. Just a really high overview of what some of the license terms and conditions are. So these are in place in the existing license and would remain for the changed license if the alteration is approved. The only thing is there could be additional clauses put in as a result of consultation or the technical review if the license is reissued to allow for the change. For example, License terms and conditions include a requirement for wildlife monitoring programs. There are conditions around construction, timing, and activities. There's financial assurance requirements, so that's to ensure that there's money set aside for cleanup when it's needed. There's also requirements associated with the access road, wastewater treatment, groundwater protection, and surface water protection. There are conditions around air emissions, requirements to sample waste rock, requirements around solid waste management, recycling, and managing hazardous waste. The current license requires an emergency response plan to prepare for potential incidents. There are requirements around mine closure and decommissioning, and there's a requirement for an overall monitoring plan. So this is already all required of the development. There are several monitoring and reporting requirements in the license. For example, the licensee is required to monitor water quality by sampling water in a number of areas, monitoring sediment quality in the river and in the receiving river, sampling fish tissue, and conducting toxicity testing.
Check, check. Question in the back here.
Oh, yep.
My name over here. Has any of these conditions been done yet, or is it just in paper?
Well, they would be in force now. So the mine hasn't started construction yet.
Okay, so nothing has been done yet?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yep. Yeah. All of the testing done and a number of other items must also be reported to the department regularly. And then all of this information also has to be summarized and submitted in an annual report. So that's really where that oversight. So that's the kind of the compliance and enforcement part after, sort of the follow-up. Here are some of the locations where water was to be monitored by the existing license. They were identified both through the technical review process that I talked about, but they were also identified through Crown Indigenous consultation that was conducted in 2010. So I won't read them off. You can sort of see them there. And actually, I just was going to bring this up. I don't know, you know what, this process won't let me share it that way. I have open and maybe once I'm done the presentation, I'll just open up the license just so you can kind of see what it looks like, the existing license. So a bit more to the history. In 2014, Victory Nickel filed a proposal with the department to change the existing 2010 license. What they wanted to do was locate the tailings waste rock management facility to a different location than what was originally proposed by the license. And that's what really what this process now is about. So under the current existing license, the tailings waste rock management facility would be located in the Oakley Creek watershed. So Oakley Creek flows into William River, which in turn flows to the Limestone Bay part of Lake Winnipeg. Limestone Bay is recognized as an important fish habitat, and that actually came up during the 2010 consultation. So the 2014 proposes to relocate it or put it in a different area in the Monago River watershed instead. So really licenses, like I said, they're a regulation that's site-specific and project-specific. So because this would move the tailings waste rock management facility into a different watershed, the change is considered major alteration. So it means it would have to undergo a complete assessment process before it could be approved under the Environment Act. So the assessment process that I explained earlier. So the alteration proposal was advertised for public comment. It was circulated to the Technical Advisory Committee for Technical Review. That's back in 2014. So additional information was requested as a result of the technical review. Some of it was received, some of it was not. All documentation related to the 2014 Notice of Assessment is found on our public registry, so you can see the history there. However, the assessment and licensing process wasn't completed, and work on the project stalled. Then the ownership of the project changed, so I guess it just sort of went into abeyance for a little while. So then in July 2022, the new owner filed a new proposal. They wanted to change what was proposed in 2014 somewhat. So this new submission described kind of what would change from the 2014 proposal. It also addressed the outstanding questions that were remaining from the 2014 technical review. Because back in 2014, when the proposal to change the existing license was received, it was advertised and went through its own technical review. So really, normally this would be considered a minor alteration because they weren't really changing what was proposed in 2014. However, because so much time has passed, it was determined that, yes, we should do a full technical review, and that has been conducted, and Crown Indigenous consultation of the changes to the 2010 license. So the Technical Advisory Committee reviewed this change both in 2014 and in 2022. They reviewed both submissions. The review consisted of an assessment of potential impacts of the change to the 2010 license, a review of the existing license to update and amend it as needed based on the Alter project, and Crown Indigenous consultation, which is currently underway. So the current 2022 notice of alteration, it's a bit confusing to say even, was circulated again to the Technical Advisory Committee for review. It was posted on our public registry, so it is available online. The posting includes all the documentations from 2014, along with the original notice of alteration, which is kind of our terms for saying how they wanted to change it in 2014. And also, as well as the comments that we'd gotten in 2014 and the information we received in response. And then you'll see there's a bit of a time gap till 2022. So it goes up, I guess, the newest at the top. Additional information has been posted as it was received, including additional comments from the Technical Advisory Committee. So, and I can send out that link. So the licensing decision that we have now is based on the 2022 notice of alteration and the 2014 proposed change to the existing 2010 license. The technical review of the proposed changes are complete. Crown Indigenous consultation, however, is ongoing. So we are at the stage of the process where we're reviewing the information gathered from all areas in preparation for making a licensing decision. And as you recall, really that's 3 areas. There's the public comments for the general public. They had the 30 days. There's the technical information from the Technical Advisory Committee and Crown Indigenous consultation. However, the decision won't be made until Crown Indigenous consultation is complete. And that actually ends my presentation. There is a link to our public registry. I'm actually online. I probably could share. I'm just going to stop presenting this. And this way, I'm going to share the screen here. Come on. Oh, there we go. So I just wanted to show you kind of the existing Environment Act license. This is what's on the public registry. This is the license that was. I'm going to minimize this here so I can get my tools back. There we go. So this is the license that was issued in August 2023, or it's August 23rd, 2011. So you can see there's really a description of what the project is. A bunch of definitions. I'm not going to really go through this. I just wanted to show you a little bit. There's some general requirements for sampling and monitoring, etc. Specific terms and conditions around construction activities. There's what I talked about, financial assurance, making sure there's enough money there in case there's an incident that they have to clean up or at the end of life. There's conditions regarding the access road, water diversion and use, sewage management, construction of that tailings waste rock management facility. We like to use acronyms a lot in government, which is unfortunate, but respecting final discharge points and effluent quality restrictions. So you can you see here it's got a fair bit of technical information on testing and stuff that needs to be done, and really limits. So the licensee shall not release any effluent from a final discharge point. For example, if phosphorus is over 1 milligram per liter, etc. So, and there's a lot more. Those air emissions I talked about. So just requirements and restrictions on that. Respecting waste rock and contaminated soil, recyclables, dangerous goods and hazardous waste handling. The emergency response plan, which I think we talked a bit about that back in November 2023. So really what the company is going to do to prepare and be prepared in case there's an emergency, and what action that they're going to take if there is one. Mine closure, decommissioning, and you can see we're only at page 12 of 25 here. And then there's schedules about the wastewater treatment. And I just wanted to go down one further here. Monitoring and reporting specifications, so really what they have to monitor. So it gets pretty comprehensive monitoring program in the annual report. So, and it's likely that this license will actually be even updated from what it is now through this notice of alteration process for the notice of alteration to be approved. So hopefully I didn't put everybody to sleep. Is there any kind of questions? I hope I answered some.
Check.
No.
Check. I'm going to start with the questions. So thank you very much for your presentation on the process and the license, and giving us a snapshot of what it looks like, the current one looks like. So concern as a band member would be, so once the permit is issued and there's all these conditions, how does the province monitor the success of the proponent in meeting those conditions? Because I know right now in our area we don't have a conservation officer. We don't even know who the environment officer is. I know there is a real shortage of those types of people in the province. And then if there is an incident where there is discharge that exceeds those amounts, what is the consequence? Because we would expect that if there were exceedances, that everything just.
Yeah, that's a lot. I think there's 4 parts to that question. So the first part about compliance, I guess compliance monitoring. So there's a couple ways that happens. So yes, one is the environment officers. And if you've been taking a look at jobs, Manitoba jobs, you'll see that there actually have been a lot of adverts in the last 6 months to a year for more environment officers. So hopefully that'll help. But really, one is just the environment officer building the relationship with the company and just at least making sure that they understand what the requirements are. So that's kind of the first step. And then doing inspections. So if there's parts of the operation that are covered under the license and there's requirements, and it's something you can sort of physically see, then the environment officer, it's not going to be, it might be a little bit more often to start, like it might be every year or really depending on the circumstances. And if there is kind of demonstrated compliance, then they might sort of space it out a little bit more. Another really big part of it is in the license. I talked a lot about the monitoring and the reporting and stuff that has to be done, and including an annual report. So our environmental compliance and enforcement branch will review that information. I'd have to take a look in this license specifically, but in most licenses where there's effluent quality discharge, there's usually a requirement to report it, any exceedances, to an environment officer right away. Now, as far as what the follow-up activity would be, I don't know if that's me beeping or not, but it sort of depends on what the exceedance is, what the potential impact is, and what it was caused by. For example, we talked about phosphorus. It's 1 milligram per liter, and that's really for more of a kind of a longer term potential issue. So if it came back and for some reason they were at 1.5 milligrams per liter, the environment officer would generally expect some sort of a compliance plan. Why did it happen? How are you going to stop it from happening? Because it's not something that's going to result in like fish kill or something like that. If it's something that's more extreme, yes, the environment officer can tell them to shut things down. So it really depends on what the parameter is. Now it's an escalated approach. So say it was something, 1.5 milligrams per liter phosphorus, which doesn't have an immediate acute effect, but chronically it could have an impact. And they say what they need to do to fix it, and environment officer will look at it, and they maybe don't, or it's something that's reoccurring, maybe the second or third time, then there would be escalated, I guess, response to that as well. So, and then for the emergency aspect, I was on the emergency response team actually for a lot of years. So I've been the one to get up at 3 a.m. and including some of the northern facilities where there's some sort of a spill or incident or something like that. And really, it depends on the situation. We do have environment officers in the PAW. And I mean, I drove up here yesterday. It's an 8.5 hour drive. I mean, the roads were really good, and usually if there are conservation officers in the area or others, or just somebody else we can talk to, say what's happening on the ground in order to get that emergency stopped. So, containment around or something like that. We can have a little bit more time then to get up and sort of address the root of the problem. So did I get sort of most of that?
Yep. I was more concerned with a real catastrophic spill. Yeah.
Yeah, so they have the ability, if something like that happens, if there's a part in their realistically, if the proposal is done right and the activity is done right, there should be things in place to stop that anyways. So for example, I'm not talking specifically about this operation, but say there's a great big tank of some sort of fuel or something, and you're afraid it's catastrophically that could leak into the nearby Nelson River, right? But realistically, the license would require in that case and other regulations, a berm around it that could hold 110% of that tank, right? So a well-developed license should already prevent those sort of concerns.
Hi, it's Brendan Albert. So in relation to and sampling. Yeah. So in relation to the monitoring and sampling, is it going to be carried out by a third party impartial?
You know what? That's a good question. I'll have to take in some cases it would be generally if the company has somebody that's trained, they can do the sampling and the monitoring, but it has to go to an accredited lab generally. So, and there's only for the kind of parameters that you'd sample for, there's only 1 or 2 labs that you could go to in Manitoba, and only a handful in the country that you could send a lot of that stuff to. And then when the reporting comes in, it's reviewed, right, by the province. So.
Okay.
Well, if something comes up, because I know sometimes it's hard to ask in these sort of big areas, feel free to come and hunt me down. I'm happy to answer any other questions. That tends to be a little bit beyond what the authority is given. So licensing under the Environment Act, there are some parameters around that. So they have to be conditions that are protective of the environment. So that generally would go beyond what would be required in a license. It wouldn't get that specific.
Apparently, they didn't hear what I said, so
Okay.
would it be a requirement that you could put in the license that Norway House did it, or a third party do it, or that there be involvement, or would that be between the company and the nation?
Yeah, it would be between the company and the nation. So a license wouldn't get into those sorts of specifics. Okay, well, I'm actually going to turn this off. Thank you.
You're a good man. I'm going to tell him you'll be back at 5 o'clock for peak performance.
It'll be exactly the same.
All right, everybody, thank you very much. If anybody asks another question, Larry will be sitting at the table. That's going to wrap up this session for this afternoon. 5 o'clock, Larry will start it off again. We're going to start the evening session at 5, and then the province of Manitoba will be finishing the session online. But feel free to have some more coffee and come up to the table if you have any questions. And then we're going to continue again at 5 o'clock for all those who want to come back for the presentations. Thank you very much. Thank you, Say.